thank you everyone for joining. The topic of our webinar today is a digital toolkit for construction project success. I'm Kevin Bright. I'm a solutions engineer with ProNovos. ProNovos is a construction intelligence cloud. And then joining me today is Mikeal Kanouff. Mikeal Kanouff is an area manager for McClone Construction. McClone and ProNovos have been partnered together for I think almost just about 5 years now. So super excited to have him here today to kind of share a lot of his knowledge and experience in terms of what he's done at McClone and to kind of create that digital toolkit to help their project success. So a little background on McClone. McClone is a construction company that specializes in structural concrete and concrete formwork. They've been around since 1975, have done over 1,000 structures throughout the United States. So a ton of experience. And like I mentioned, they've kind of been working with us at ProNovos for just about 5 years now. And what we do at ProNovos is we want to partner with busy subcontractors to help them make sense of all of the data they collect on their construction job sites and really organize it in a thoughtful manner so you can get meaningful insights from it so you can start to take more informed actions on your job sites. So some of the things and tools we're going to talk about today are the drawing management tool, how to manage your photos on the job site. We're going to discuss briefly a way you can look at transferring equipment to and from the job site. And then we're also going to touch on a custom form builder and then how you can get analytics and reporting out of all these tools to help inform your insights. So with that, I'll pass it off to you, Mikeal.
Yeah, thank you. So like Kevin said, I'll do my best here to run through how we use the platform, at least the major portions. And I really focused on, I guess, the interaction with the field, as that's our biggest time saver and ultimately cost saver as it goes that route. But also some newer things we've done and being able to utilize the reporting that I would utilize more in my role. So we'll talk drawings and photos. You know, these are a little bit more straightforward. We won't spend a whole lot of time on them. I'm assuming everyone has seen this type of these functions before, but they're important for what we do. So it would seem wise to go through it. And then the equipment is a little bit different. There are some equipment programs out there. As a concrete contractor, we have a ton of equipment, so it is a big deal for us. And it ties well into the reporting at the end that really makes I guess our approach with ProNovos different than it was in the past as we used Excel or even Procore. So I figured that was important to touch on. And then the forms is something that we've kind of unrolled in the last year or so. And it's a custom form builder that allows us to get all of our paperwork, as we would call paperwork, inspections, safety documents, electronic. So it is custom. I'll show that here at the end. Let me share my screen. It is custom, and it will I'll kind of show you how that works so that you'll see that everything that's on there, even the way that the forms are formatted, though they're electronic, it's 100% to the way that we utilize them. And then at the end, I'll show kind of how everything ties together from an analytics or reporting standpoint and really show the full circle on how we utilize everything. So we'll jump into the Del Valle project here and focus first on the drawings. So if anyone's ever seen the Procores of the world or the plan grids of the world, you've probably seen a similar type of drawing tool. So you jump in, you can categorize your drawings into different folders or different areas. Here, once you jump into the folder, you can look at the disciplines you have. So general and discipline will end up falling into these ones. And then obviously the drawing itself. The drawings, as you upload them, they look for a PDF format. You ultimately upload the drawing and it OCRs everything. So you upload it, it processes it. Like Bluebeam, you take a quick snapshot of the drawing title, the drawing number, and it takes that through all the different, looks for that area through all the different drawings that you've uploaded, organizes it for you, gives you a chance to kind of approve everything before you publish it, and then you publish it. You can see all the different revisions. If there have been more than one, it looks like there's been a couple on this one. You can change which one is the current revision or current version. which is big for those in the field. So let's see, so drawings, photos, equipment, and forms will all be in mobile. I don't have it ready to show through the app right now, but there is an app that you can access everything that we talk about here today, and everything's in offline mode. So drawings ultimately you need to be in the office to download them, but once you have them, you can go in the field. You can pull them up from anywhere. You don't have to have internet access. And then the same thing with photos. As you take a picture, ultimately, once you get back into online, you get back into the office, the job site office, you just open up the app and it kind of resyncs everything for you. So obviously the app is probably the biggest way that our field interacts with ProNovos. And everything that, again, that you see on here will all sync kind of automatically with the app, like most of those programs that you've seen in the past, the Procores of the world. So here's the drawing revisions. After it processes, it runs through and it grabs all your section cuts. If you want to jump through the different documents and see the different areas, it's got a pretty good navigation. You can zoom in and see different portions of the site. And then if you want to jump back to where you were, I don't have any section cuts on this particular one, but if you want to jump back into a different section cut, you can just hit the back arrow and see it jumps back to where you were initially when you clicked on that hyperlink. You can jump pages forward and backwards, obviously select the page that you want to go see. There's markup tools that you see over here. Again, didn't mean to spend a whole lot of time on this, but it is important for what we do from a drawing standpoint and an interaction with the field standpoint to give them the information that they need. Yeah, I think that's probably a good spot to start and move over to photos, which again, very, very dependent on how we use them in our company. We try to get our superintendents to take 5 to 10 photos a day and really document. It's the best way to document the progress of the job as things go. So there are default folders that you can create. That's as you create a new project, the default folders kind of populate on there. We have, impacts, quality control, trucking, progress photos is our big one. You can see this is where everything is mostly populated. And this is what we ask our superintendents to do, is jump in here, take a photo, 5 to 10 a day, and just be able to see everything and pop it in this progress photos if we ever need to go look for anything that happened on the job site and just kind of do it in the timeline too. If you do jump into a photo, you can add a description if you want to. You can add keywords. These are keywords that are custom to us. So as a concrete company, obviously, cantilevers, Aluma, we use a lot of Aluma gear. Doka is on there. If you want to, search later on, you can go look at these keywords and pull up these pictures if your superintendent is diligent enough to kind of tag everything as it goes. That's an option on here, but this is just an easy way to be able to go look at what's going on the job site and really be able to organize it easily. Again, if you're in the app, either online or offline mode, you jump in the app, you open up the camera, take a few pictures, pick the album that it jumps into, and then you just hit OK and walk away. No real extra work needed to do so. Probably not any different if you've used the Procores or the Plan Grids of the world. It's a real similar workflow, but super dependent, super important to us as we're documenting our job site to be able to utilize this.
Hey, Michael, I'm always kind of curious. How many photos would you say you were getting from the guys in the field kind of before ProNovos and since you've moved over to the new system?
Yeah, so we used to be with Procore a few years back, and with Procore, it was a similar amount. We'd probably get, 1 to 5 a day. It really depends on the superintendent. For the superintendents that are the old schoolers that never really wanted to go down the new technology road, it's always harder to get them to utilize these type of things. For the new ones, they're in it all the time. They realize the benefit and realize that it makes their job easier. So they're just more used to being on their phones and technology. So we do a pretty good job of getting the 5 to 10 photos a day. Again, depending on the job, depending on the superintendent. So those two I wanted to get through a little bit quicker. Again, I don't think there's anything groundbreaking, I think, in these technologies, but they really are crucial to being able to have really everything in one spot. And maybe that's the theme as we run through here, and something that was important to McClone. And there's a lot of different tools out there, but unfortunately, it seems like you need 5 or 6 different apps to really get them all done. And everything that we do is really just centered here in ProNovos. It'll make a little bit more sense as we progress through, but well, I guess we can jump to the next portion, which is equipment. So equipment is big for us. There are 2 areas of equipment, and even as you look into the site, there's really 2 levels of the site. There's the company level, and the company level lives at the operational area. So I'm in Austin. So Texas is the area that I stay in the most, but you can see we have different areas in the country. And it's important because everything that I look at, I don't really care about all those other areas. So as we look at these, the jobs are grouped by area, my equipment is grouped by area, my reporting is all grouped by area. So it's important on that front to make sure that I'm really just focused on the things that I want to see. So as I look at equipment, I'm even further down in there. I'm going to look at everything that, since we're in the Still Valley Middle School, we'll jump into the equipment that's on this job site. So the equipment here, you just jump in and it gives me everything that I've shipped to the job site. The way that ProNovos tracks what's shipped to the job site is called a transfer, which is simply more than a truck. That's a scheduled truck that the equipment that you put on, and you put in the location where it's from and where it's to. Those locations are the projects that have been entered into the job site. They populate as where you can ship equipment to and from. And then like these Ellis Reshore Springs or Shore Cups, this is equipment that we've registered into the program. So jump in, type in what you want. We have a lot of different equipment that's in the program. And ultimately, you can adjust its inventory. We'll take a look at some of the reports later on to see where things have been, and you can really track the movement of equipment as it goes through. But this is big for us. It's big for 2 reasons. One, if I'm planning a job and I need to see how much formwork, for example, I have, I can jump in here and I can see all the pieces and parts for every system just by jumping in and taking a look at what's on the site. For us, we have all of our drawings, our formwork drawings. So on our formwork drawings, it tells me how much equipment I'm going to need for a certain pour. So I can come in here and I can compare, hey, do I have enough? Is there enough on site? And do I need to ship more? It's really easy to be able to tell. From a company level standpoint, and I'll go back to that portion, there is another secondary spot for inventory that allows me to see everything that's in the Texas area. So I can look at all my project at all my locations, or if I wanted to go back into that same project, from here, I can filter and I can see the equipment that's on there. So if I go back to all locations, the good part here and the importance of being able to see it in this area is we're planning jobs, or we're looking from a pre-con standpoint, we're wondering which jobs that we can land or what we can't. Just knowing what's available from an overall standpoint on all of our projects, and really what's in our yards, I can easily tell whether or not we're going to have to rent for a project, or do we need to buy more equipment because we're taking on more work, or what it looks like. You can kind of filter through the different areas and really see either, like I said, from an area or from the yard, do we need to go get more stuff? It's a huge portion of the equipment workflow, and making sure that when we plan out our jobs, we've got everything that we need. It's really a big deal. I'm going to jump into the Washington office real quick. I was using this one as a good example for how the transfers work. So like I said before, a transfer is nothing more than a truck full of equipment that's going to go from one project to another. There are different states of a transfer, and I'll do my best here to kind of explain how this works. So draft, you're prepping for a job and you're going to start filling out the needs that you're going to have in a week or two. Obviously, you don't want to push it out to the company. You don't want to say that it's sent from one project to another. So it's just a draft. Beyond a draft, once you're ready to send it, we have a controller that schedules all of our trucks. So once the superintendent is ready, they're going to fill out their needs on a truck, kind of the request that they're going to have from the yard. They also jump in here. They have access to all the different jobs and the inventory that's on the jobs. So we say, hey, if you want something with yard, just jump in there real quick, see if it's available. Make sure that it's there before you do it. We'll send it to the controller, and it will go into the pending column once you end up sending it in. That means that there's a request hanging out there, but the controller hasn't scheduled the truck. Trucking has been harder to get, so you don't always get the time slot that you need, but the controller works with the superintendent to schedule the truck. Once it's scheduled, then the controller marks it as so, and it goes into the scheduled column. And I'll jump into a quick transfer to show what that looks like. So this is your equipment from the project that you're in, the L200. And you can say that you can request from a different project, or you can say, hey, this is from our project and we're going to ship back to the yard here, because that's what they're doing here. Some contact information, some information about the freight line, if there's a specific freight line or truck size, or how it's unloaded. That might affect the way that we load the truck, is knowing how the job's going to be unloaded. And then ultimately the equipment that's on there. And to add equipment, you either mark it as rental if it's something that is going to come from a vendor, and or if it's just your own, you leave it. There is different statuses of the equipment. You can mark something as damaged or active if it's good to use. And then you can just type in anything that you want to end up looking up, and there's just a smart search for everything that we've registered into the company. So Miller Edge, you see here, I typed in just a couple things, some F code gear comes up. This allows the superintendent just real quick to add information or to add equipment on there. Add in ultimately what they want to, the amount that they need. It calculates the weight for you. You register the weight when you register the equipment. So once you get the equipment in once for a Miller Edge, for example, it just populates into every transfer. So you don't have to figure out the weight of the truck. You get up to that 45,000 pounds, and even though there's room on the truck, you can't ship anything more. You can't ship more than that. Axles and the permits for weight and everything don't allow you to. Some equipment have tracking numbers, which is what this is. So you can track a particular Miller Edge. This is the ID for a Miller Edge. This is our number 3. The cool thing with reporting is you can go in there and say, hey, where is this particular Miller Edge? You can just type it in and it will tell you what job site it's on if you've been searching for it. You come up with yearly inspections, safety inspections, those type of deals. You can register that, and you can just track on where things are, so you can hunt it down easily without making a bunch of phone calls. And this is really how it works. This is the heart of moving equipment from project to project. The cool part is once you get it through, the truck is ready to send out. You'll send it from one project and to the other project. This is called unaccepted. Unaccepted just means that it has been sent from one area, so from here, the L200 garage, to another one, but it hasn't been accepted by the receiver. We really push our superintendents that once the equipment hits your site, you're going to be charged for it. Some of our equipment on here, that the equipment that we capitalize, we obviously have to charge the job for. So if they're going to receive it, they're saying they're taking responsibility for it, and it affects. We do project awards at the end of our projects, and it affects their project award. It affects the way that they're going about the site. So if they want to say, hey, I didn't receive a certain piece of equipment, now's the time. You need to pull this up on your phone as you're receiving everything and ensure everything's there, or print up the transfer and be able to take a look at it and mark it off if you want to give it to one of your foremen. To make sure that everything that's supposed to be on that truck is on that truck. As soon as you accept it, you're going to take responsibility for it. And then same thing, if they decide, hey, something was wrong with the transfer, I didn't receive everything that was supposed to be on there, you can dispute it, and you kind of go into give them a call and hash out what wasn't there, look at the pictures on what was the truck, and really see what was there. So the equipment area, there's a couple different portions of this. The transfer log, you can go look at all your different transfers and everything that's on there. But it's a big portion of what we do. Having equipment and make sure that we have everything registered within here is really big. And then the reporting side of this, ProNovos tracks all this information. Every date for every piece of equipment on and off the site is tracked. I'll show you a report that we use here at the end on how this kind of comes full circle. to getting the trucks from the job site and ultimately charging them and putting it into our accounting system. We do it 100% touchless. There is one export that's actually required because Sage, we use Sage, and Sage doesn't love imports, data imports automatically. So there is one CSV that we create, but ultimately it comes from the system here. It's pretty cool.
We'll get rid of that one export one day.
Yeah, you got to call Sage on that one, man. Good luck. Good luck for sure. All right, so that's the equipment. The last thing, and I'll jump back into the Del Valley project here and go to the project list. It's forms. So forms. So this is probably the coolest portion that I wanted to show on here, on really the big change on how we've approached our operations in the last year or so. We've really pushed this as to get the superintendents to quit filling out, carrying around clipboards, quit carrying around paper copies of stuff that gets rained on or lost. You know, we haven't had any OSHA violations, but we've been threatened by them on just having certain superintendents who don't organize their paperwork well. It's actually a OSHA standard that there's a certain amount of organization that needs to happen on a job site. If your superintendent just puts everything into a big pile, that is not okay by OSHA. It needs to be organized to a certain amount. And this is how we organize our equipment. I think the organization of it, there is a time savings with the way that it's spelled out that I'll show, but the organization of it is really big for us. So the calendar. So this lets you know what paperwork has been filled out on your project for everything that we've done. And all of our paperwork is now in ProNovos. Now, when I say paperwork, I mean our inspections. So, you know, false work inspections, obviously a big one, pre-strip checklist, strip authorizations with our clients, even down to safety, our injury illness, our near misses, corrective action notices, everything that we've done, we've put into the system. You can see any piece of paperwork that's been filled out shows up here in the calendar view. So the checkbox is a daily report, means it's been filled out for the day. If it's got a circle around it, it means it's been emailed. So this one hasn't been emailed. So if I needed to follow up with the client, I can see that Fridays wasn't sent out. And then it's got the report itself. And I think we'll open up a job site inspection report here. So if I want to look at a report, I can do it in two ways. I can click into here and just look at the list of job site inspections, for example, safety. So you can just get a list of the ones that have been filled out. I don't use the list as much. I seem to live here because I'm always looking at a particular day on what happened. So we'll look at the job site inspection here for this particular one. And you can see the content that's on here. So we have 4 tabs, as you would call them: general safety, fall protection, ladders, and other items that need to be inspected. And then we kind of use this radio dial on here. This form, I'll say, is locked, so I can't modify anything on here. There's a process when the superintendent fills out a form and finalizes it. Once it's finalized, it's kind of locked, which is why everything is gray. But these are the items that we ask our superintendents or whoever the responsible personnel on the job site to review. So this is everything here is responsive on the iPad or on your phone. We push iPads just because you get a little bit more screen real estate, but everything here can be done. You sign it through here, you email it through here, it creates the PDF through here. Everything's on here and everything is custom. The reason why this is formatted the way it is, meaning that you have your checkboxes to the left here, your item in the middle, and your notes to the right-hand side, is because when we had it in Bluebeam or printed version, this was the same format. So what we were shooting for is if we're gonna switch, and it's always fun operationally to switch systems, if we're gonna switch and get people from stopping doing paperwork, so they've done for 20 years or so for some of our superintendents, we're gonna try to make it look exactly like we did in the forms. And you have that ability. You can really play with how things look on here and make sure that it is similar to what it was on the paper copy. as it was. And in fact, let's see, yeah, you can see the PDF here. The old PDF that we had was very similar to this. And we created this form and I'll show you the form builder, but we created this to make it look as much like we possibly could to the original form. They would just print this up and ultimately write this stuff out instead of typing it in.
I love that you hit on that, Michael, because that is something we're always big about at ProNovos is we don't want to come into your organization and tell you how to do things differently. We really want to take what's working well for you and adapt it to our system and just give you some additional tools to do it more efficiently and collect the data around that. Because I think we all know in construction, people tend to be a creature of habit. And if you do start introducing those new systems, the adoption rate really goes down. So I think it's great that you guys did this exactly like your old version.
Yeah, and if we create new forms, maybe we make them a little more, mobile friendly, let's say, because things do, as you're on a phone, it looks different than an iPad because everything kind of stacks appropriately to make sure that it's nice and organized as you go. But yeah, making sure that everyone knew what they were looking at. It wasn't a completely new format was a big deal for us, and it's worked out pretty well. The transition was fairly easy considering the concern that we had, and I headed it up for our company in all of the areas. And oh man, it was one I was not looking forward to. And we probably have, I don't know, 30 or 40 superintendents, and I got a lot of phone calls, of course. Why are we changing this and that? And you try to convince everyone, right? Hey, this is for the better good. It turned out pretty good. After they jumped in there and they realized they don't have to organize their paperwork anymore. That was a big selling point, and it went pretty well all in all. So. But this is a version of, this is what gets sent to the client. So if this is something that you do need to send to the client because they're looking for it, you don't have to, obviously. You got to hit the email button. You pre-register all of the who's on the job, who your point of contacts are for turning these things in, so that when you do email it, everything pre-populates, right? You just hit email, you get a chance to change some notes on the email itself, and then you can just send it. But this is what they receive. And the signature box, yeah, this is the signature on an iPad just using his finger. This is just what it looks like. And this also gets sent in so that it's appropriately signed and verified by whoever the inspector is, happened to be the superintendent on this project with the same individual. So Andre ended up doing it. Okay, so I will jump. If this is the filling out the form, let's take a look real quick about what it looks like to create one. So if I go back to the main navigation and go to the admin spot, there's a form builders portion in the admin. And I'm going to use one that's not used very often for this, so I don't screw up what's going on in our company too bad. I'm going to just do this forklift inspection. So as you click in, if you created a new one, it would be very similar to this. But ultimately, there's some information that you see about it. If the form has been revised, obviously things change over time and it keeps track of the changes. Information about, so what the template name is, or the name of the form, if you put an ID to it, the category inspection, or if it's safety, or if it's just field paperwork. The inspection item that's on here, and then the things that we inspect that's associated with what this particular form is. So this is a forklift inspection. This is every time that you're going to send a forklift to a project that typically comes from our yard. The yard manager needs to take a look and just run through these items. Don't send a broken forklift to the job site. Go through here. Did you complete this? Take any pictures? Is there, go take a look at does it start, turn it on, right? All that good stuff. Make sure that it's good. So I'm going to go into the edit portion of this form. When you create a form or when you're editing a form, there's this header information that you look at. So you create the template name, the ID, again, the category. You can have certain things show up on an instance of the form. So we looked at an instance of the form earlier. If you're a superintendent, say, hey, I want to create a new forklift inspection. It populates an empty form for you to fill out. You can have the project name populate and auto-populate every time. The project number, header information. So if you want to put a description in that says, hey, you need to do this on this form, and just some quick information about the form, you can do that. You can do that on here, and it populates every time for your user to see, or it shows up on the PDF when you send it out. So I'm going to jump to the next spot. And for this, actually, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to remove this and then recreate it. So this area to the right is an area where you drag and drop all your information. And this area to the left are the tools that are available to create your form. So this is truly customizable as far as what you want to see and how you want to see it. So there's kind of two aspects of it. I'll try to keep it simple and stay out of the weeds. So I'll ignore the inspection tool for now, but you create an area. So you can create columns, you can create a table, you can create tabs, like the other form had tabs earlier where you're showing different bits of information based on the tab that you've clicked on. But this just this is defining how you want to break up the information. You can drop different items on here and the PDF will look different. We'll just do a well, which is just a one spot to drop information, I guess. And there's some information that you can create that's associated with the well. So the label. So if I wanted to say test well area, you can hide the label if you don't want to. If you want to put something on there, but you don't want it to show up. But for now, we'll save it. And you can see here, we've got a new area on the form. There's a way to make the text bold and you can play with the different borders and stuff like that. I'm not going to do that for this example. I'll just kind of show you how it works. But notice that we have this new area here on here that we've created. And it says drag and drop the elements to build the template. So your form fields. So this is where the content comes from. So you can have labels, just blank labels. You can have numbers, text areas, check boxes, select fields like with drop downs, radio dials is what we looked at just a little bit ago. And then there's advanced fields, and these are kind of pre-formatted. So signature field, that's what we dropped on the bottom of our form. We make our superintendents obviously sign any inspection that they end up creating or doing. Date, time, phone number, email, all these things. We'll do something simple. We'll just do like a checkbox and we'll populate it on here. And what populates over here is some information. You can change the padding, which is just the space around the box. You can make it kind of push to the left or push to the right or up or down. Again, let's create the label here and say inspection checkbox. You can play with the position. So if you want the label to show up on the left or the right-hand side, you can change the width. And there's some really cool things you can actually do with the data side and the validation side if you want to make sure that it's checked, and even some conditional formats based on this, but it's probably not worth getting into that. And I'll save this component. So now we have created this test area. We have the well, the inspection area that's beside it. I can always come back and I can edit it if I need to. But for this example, obviously we won't get into that. And then as you build it, you can take a look and see how it's going to show up on your form. And this is where you can really play with some of the labeling or some of the borders. For this one, this is the little area that we created right here. And it's got a border around it. We can make it bold. You can see the checkbox on here. If I wanted to make, for example, on this one, you can see that there's a label with a yes, no, and then a comments box next to it. So if this is a well, this is a column with two columns. I dropped one of them into over here and I created the yes, no for it. And then I dropped another blank text box on here with no label, excuse me, that we write comments for. So that's what I mean. It really depends on how you want to build it. And you start playing around with it to make it look like you want it to look, because you obviously want to present it to the client or save it for your records at some point. Afterwards, that's it. You save it. You can then go back and look at the different forms that you have on here. You can create them and not publish them if it's something that you haven't filled and finished your form for, or if obviously if you've published it, you're ready to go. You can control the project access. So if you only want certain projects to see certain forms, you can control that on here and really only populate the projects and let those individuals see it, the projects who you want to, and go from there. This has been the bigger change for us, and it's nothing. I haven't seen this anywhere. I think there are form There are companies out there where you can create forms for, but none, I don't think I've seen any that's in the construction industry specifically. And then more importantly, none that you can pull your data from. So the other side of this thing that's super cool, and we're just getting into it, I've only have a couple of reports built, is you can run a report on any one of these. So for example, if I wanted to say, how often does my forklift fail? I can run a report that says, that tracks that information. If I want to say, how often does a certain portion, a certain inspection item fail? I can take a look at that. For my extra work reports, for your deck reinforcement inspection, if there's anything on here, you can run a report to take a look at any metric that you can think of that's on any report. It's 100% reportable, which is super cool. Where we haven't seen it is because I can create my own inspection item and then report off of it. I haven't seen a spot that allows you to do something like that. And it really gives me insight into everything that's going on to the job site. Obviously, from a safety standpoint, safety reporting, that's kind of your low-hanging fruit on here, right? You can run, all your injuries, your near misses, root causes. You can run reports on all those to see, even like where you were struck on your body or where the injury was on the body. So you can really run all the different aspects of all the different reports. And again, it's not a canned report. The report is modified specific to your company so that you can create and show the things that you want to track and then report off of them, or for us, what we want to track. So this is cool.
Touch on that.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, let me touch on that real quick, Michael. If you're looking through this here and say, man, that looks really cool, but building our own forms seems like a daunting task to take on. At ProNovos, we do have a thorough customer support team that could kind of help you navigate that, help you build some of those forms that you use most frequently to kind of get that process started and put together a plan to kind of make that transition from being paper-based to fully digital.
Yep. And then I think the last thing to show on here is really how we bring all this together. So on here, there's an analytics tab. And what you see on the analytics tab, there's different permissions, and I've kind of got full permissions on here. So I'll say that you can control who sees what. This is a dashboard that McClone has. I think, Kevin, you have a whole slew of dashboards and things to show. But this is how McClone uses theirs, I guess is the best way to say it. I can't speak for the rest of it. These reports touch every aspect of our company. So our accounting report, so I can see my outstanding retentions, my account receivables, my project payments by month, my project costs by year and average that we run. We run reports on our mandate costs, our average mandate costs, all of our non-labor measurables and everything. All of that is pulled out of our accounting system and put against the information that you see that's pulled out of cost, that's out of ProNovos, the operations side of ProNovos. The equipment report I'll show here in a second. I pulled one open, so it shows the type of report that you can get to cost your project based on those transactions, those equipment transactions. I'll show that. And then even from our project standpoint, we're pulling all of our information, who the structural engineer was, who the architect, who the person, the PM and the engineer on from our side is, and I can filter, I can look at all of my information, all rolled up right here. It's all into the same system. Same thing with estimating. We actually still use Excel to do our estimating, but we've created a button that takes all of our information out of our estimate template and it pushes it to ProNovos. So all of our cost histories, all of how we've done on every project, when we're done with our cost report, our WIP report, we push all of that information to our central database, and it's all accessible through here. And this is really the portion, as we talk about digital toolkit, this is everything for us. I can see every aspect of our company, all rolled up, separated by area, by operational area, even by project if I want to, all rolled in right here. So let me pull up a couple of these reports to show you what I mean. This come through okay? Okay, thank you. So this is just a quick report that we have that shows all of our areas and all of our projects in each area. So if I want to see for Adolfo, for example, he's the PM in our Washington office, I can just click on his name and I can see every project that he's been associated with, and then who the structural engineer was, the architect, the GC, really anything that we want to see. For if I want to see how many hotels we've done, I can just click on this, and for pre-quals, I can pull up all of our hotels and everything that we've done. If I want to look up something by our client, we can go to Kobayashi in Hawaii, and I can look at all the work that we've done with Kobayashi. This allows us to kind of easily, at a very high level, slice and dice our information, even by scope if we do formwork only versus package. We've created these ways that we want to look at our information. It's kind of our view into our project so that we can see everything that we need to see. The other one, and this is the allocation report that I talked about before. What you're looking at here is, this is one piece of equipment. So this is our HV system. It's a secondary beam, a 5'7" long secondary beam, and every transaction that was associated with this secondary beam. When we do that, we put a cost to it, and the cost allows us, and these costs are kind of fudged because I knew that we were going to do this presentation, but it gives us a number at the bottom that is the cost of our equipment against the project for every job for every month. I can change which project I'm looking at here. And ultimately, this is what will get sent to the client, or I'm sorry, get sent to our CFO when we are sending our monthly allocations, so we need to charge our job. There's a different report. Let me try to find this. There's a different report here that I said that is the CSV for stage. We'll click into this. It formats it, takes all those transactions. The report looks different because the view of the reporting is modifiable. We create the information so that Sage can receive it. We add some cost codes to it. We add the project number to it. And there's a one-click button on that export that our CFO takes that information, imports it into Sage, and costs it to the job. So we go from transactions that happen between our foreman and our yard manager all the way to our CFO, and we don't touch any information, and it's 100% accurate. Everything that's on there, the process is vetted through here. And that's really, this is a low-hanging fruit from an example standpoint on how we can utilize data to make our operations more successful. That was something before that we did with Excel. We would try to track everything in Excel. If you sent something to the job site, the PM would have to go and take a paper copy of a transfer, what was written down, sometimes on a 2x4 like it was back in the day, somehow record it, and then really try to understand what was on our job site as we're gearing up for the next round of, let's say we're getting to a different level of the structure and we need to bring on more equipment. This allows us to really see and utilize and quit doing admin work operationally from one aspect to the other. And it's really the reporting side of ProNovos that we've utilized here and the different reports that we have. I wish I could show you some of the accounting reports, some of the project data reports. I'm just not comfortable showing that information, obviously, for this presentation. But it's pretty cool to be able to jump into one report, see how a foreman is doing on their inspections, and then in like 3 clicks, go look at your receivables all in one page. It's super powerful.
Yeah, and I think that, Michael, what you kind of said there, that's really kind of what our goal at ProNovos is, every contractor out there has that mountain of data that they've collected through all their different systems and through all their different projects. And our goal is to help you make sense of that, put it in an organized manner where you can get meaningful insights out of that data that you're collecting on the job site. So as you learn from one project, you can take those lessons and implement them on all the projects to come after it. So Michael, I know you couldn't kind of share your own financial examples, but I've got a couple pulled up here that I think we've got some time at the end that I'd love to kind of run through and just give people a quick flavor of what some of that accounting reporting can look like that we can do.
Yeah, you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, that'd be great. So this first one I've got pulled up here is a tool that we can basically use where we pull the financial data out of your ERP system and import it into ProNovos. and it gives the project manager a way to go in and make adjustments to their budget. So what you can see at the top are some top level metrics related to the project financials, original contract, budget, what's the margin, how did that change with change orders, what are the outstanding commitments, job to date costs. But then as they move down, what you'll see is each cost line item you have in your ERP will pull over, and we're going to create a projected final cost number where we're basically looking at, hey, are your job to date costs plus commitments greater than your revised budget? And if so, let's use that number. But really what the power of this is you can go in and make an adjustment to a certain line item. So as I click in here, if I want to update this line item, I can add an additional cost of $5,000. And down here, it's going to prompt me to enter a root cause for that adjustment. So is it because there was missing material on the job site? Was there poor coordination? Was it a scope gap? And as you start to aggregate these information across line items, you can start to identify trends across your projects, or maybe where you need to improve across your organization. So as I enter this information here, I can go back and look at my full report and see where I might be having issues and what are some of the root causes for that. So I can see I've got $57,000 in rework, 5 different adjustments. Okay, that might tell me I've got an issue with how I'm doing QA, QC on the job site. I really got to take a look at that to understand, hey, is there something we're missing here? Equally important to keeping track of, why things may have gone wrong on a job site are what went well on the job site. Did you save money in a way that you weren't anticipating? Did you use a better process? Did you find a supplier with better pricing? Those things are equally important to capture on the job site so you can carry it over to the next job site and really capitalize on those gains that you're seeing on an individual project. The last thing I kind of wanted to show on this one here is this margin tracker up at the top. This is a really cool tool that as the PM is updating their cost here, they can see how it's going to impact the overall profit margin on the job. So you can see if you're going to experience a profit margin fade or gain on the job. And what's great is it's kind of showing those adjustments it's showing the change in margin based on the adjustments you're making. But if I go over here, what I can see is my original margin to my revised margin changed 0.49%. So that's purely just on how I'm processing change orders. So if I go to my change order report here, I can see a breakdown of all the change orders that I have in my accounting system and how that may have impacted my profit margin on the job. So I can see the number of change orders I have in September, December, what's the status? And then right here, that's going to tell me, all right, how did my profit margin change over time? So I can see the bulk of it changed with this December change order down here. I had a profit margin fade of 0.42%. So I can go down here and I can find that December 31st. I can click on it and I can see all the details related to that change order. So I can see this change order only had a profit margin of 9%, where my profit margin for the job was 27%. So obviously if I'm processing a change order at 9% and my profit margin on the job is 27, I'm going to see that profit fade there. You can also look at it and say, all right, if I had all my pending and even let's say the rejected change orders, what would have happened to my profit margin on the job? So it kind of allows you to do that what if analysis to see how different things would play out. And I don't want to kind of get lost in all the dashboards here, but we have lots of kind of different financial dashboards. Here's a billing dashboard that will kind of tell you what your cash flow like on a project, what's still outstanding, what you still need to receive, what's your average days that the customer is paying you. So there's a lot of different insights that we can provide once we start to get all of that data in one place. So I think that's just about everything Mikeal and I had wanted to cover today. I'll kind of stop there and see if there's any questions. I'd like to thank everyone for joining today. I know we covered a lot today. I hope you got some good insights out of it, and you can kind of take some of those lessons and maybe bring them back to your own organization.